Hello and welcome to what is now a wet and dreary MKM Stadium after Hull City were beaten 2-0 by Premier League side Newcastle United in their first home friendly. Yeah? Have I got that right?
You are right.
Yeah. Look, I think you have to caveat these chats, Fletch, with the fact that we know that Hull City are a long way short of where they need to be in terms of recruitment. But I think if we forget that for a minute, how would you reflect on the performance as a whole against let's not forget, a Newcastle side that had the likes of Nick Pope in goal, big save to deny Regan Slater, Isak up front, Murphy down the side. They've got some good players, haven't they? But how would you surmise that performance?
A step forward,
yeah?
I think, is how I'd surmise it. I think that they showed promise going forward, but the elephant in the room that I think we know and that what the fans know is signings.
Yeah,
that's what it boils down to. I'm encouraged tactically by what I saw going forward. I'm still trying to work out where everyone's meant to run to be brutally honest. It seems very fluid, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I think that's what it boils down to. I think we showed Hull City showed glimpses of what they can do with Giles putting the ball into the penalty area, for example. But it's just one of those things where at the minute they haven't got the personnel for me to actually put that tactical philosophy into practice in 2 weeks' time.
I like what I see. I like what Tim Walter is trying to do. I think there's plenty to be encouraged by the manner of the performance, the rotations, the way they move the ball. There were too many times, I don't know what you thought, Fletch, but there were too many times in the game where I felt that they went sideways and back to the goalkeeper, a bit like what we saw with Liam last season, largely because they haven't got the attacking players, largely because they haven't got that creative playmaker, like we saw perhaps with Fabio Carvalho, and the ability to get the ball wide with Jayden and get Jayden running at somebody. That is lacking, isn't it? I mean, I've got to say as well, I thought Abdouche was excellent today. I thought Abdouche, particularly in the second half, was dominant. There was a moment where it sort of he went past a couple of players, it opened up, and he fizzed a shot, and Nick Pope saved it. There was a one in the first half where he came in off the right flank and he wanted a penalty, went down under a couple of challenges. I know that the manager wanted a penalty, but
I don't think I've ever seen a pre-season friendly where a penalty's being given so brutally.
But he was good. But I just feel like they're lacking somebody to come and take the ball off the midfield too, who I thought struggled at times today. I thought Regan and Xavier Simon struggled at times, but they're playing against the Premier League midfield, in fairness. But
Lewis Hall had a great game.
He did, yeah, he was good. Yeah, he was good.
I know he's already been signalled as one to watch, but I think this could be a big year for him, brutally honest. I mean, he's playing in a pre-season friendly against Hull, but he showed his class. They
just lack that creative spark, don't they? You know, Oscar Estepinen was in the team. That was his first Hull City game, I think, since Doncaster in the EFL Cup last year. We all know what happened there. I thought he created a really good moment. Actually, I think it was Giles early on. Giles whipped in across, and he got across his man and sort of angled a volley across goal and wide. And I thought that was promising, that ability to get in front of his man and get a shot away. But they just didn't create enough. And there was a moment second half where Giles has put a really good cross in. Unfortunately, Oscar's already gone off the pitch, hasn't he?
Yeah.
What did you make of Oscar's performance, Fletch?
It's hard to say, isn't it? Because normally, in this situation, you'd say he's trying to get up to speed. Say, for example, if he'd been playing in the Copa America with Colombia or something, as Newcastle showed today, they didn't play any player, obviously, from the Copa America or the Euros. They're getting their time off and flying out to Japan. But for Oscar, surprisingly sluggish, would you say?
Yeah, look, it's difficult.
He's got Dan Burn, to be honest, hasn't it? A 6'5", 6'6" centre half covering him all the time, so it's hard for him to get away. I kept sort of thinking in my mind as the game was going on, if this was against the Championship opponent, those spaces would open up for him. I think just because of the class of who he was going up against defensively, that was the difference. But if I was being really harsh, I would have wanted to have seen a little bit more of an impact because he didn't have many actual chances on goal. I think he only had one.
I think the thing for Oscar is that you have to bear in mind that, you know, since the day that the players returned from pre-season, he's not been there.
No.
And they've not.
So he's basically step one of the tactical philosophy.
Yeah, and they've been playing with Ryan Longman through the middle, and then Sincere Hall off the bench. So the players that are here are going to have to work out how to play with Oscar and work. And also last season, they didn't, for much of the season, they didn't play with an out-and-out striker, did they, under Liam? So they were playing into feet. They were playing Carvalho was the false nine. They'd play into feet. They weren't getting down the sides and putting crosses in. And if you're going to get the best out of Oscar Estupiñán, you've got to get down the sides and put crosses in.
Yes.
Or play into him there and get off him.
Ideally put the ball on the 6-yard line.
Yeah.
That's where Oscar likes to be.
We know he scores goals at this level. You know, he scored 13 goals in his first season, of which, 7 or 8 of them came in the first couple of months. Yeah. So we know, we've seen before that he can be streaky, but he can score goals at this level, and I think he will score goals. I don't think he's the answer necessarily. I think they need.
You're not thinking?
No, I don't think. I think they need another. I think they need somebody else. Obviously, Kiefer Moore was the one that Tim Walter wanted. But I think he's an option, and I would keep him around. But I don't think he is the option. I don't think.
What you're saying is you're not pinning your badge on your chest to him.
No,
specifically.
I like him.
You want someone to rotate with him.
Yeah, 100%. I like Oscar. I think he scores goals. I think he can score goals, and I think in a team that creates chances, I believe he could score 20 goals. I mean, let's be fair, he scored 13 goals in a rank bad team under Shotta Alvaladze.
Yeah.
And obviously that season ended under Liam Rosenior. But I think any striker that can score 13 goals in a team fighting relegation has got the ability to go and get 20 in a team that is aiming higher.
Yeah.
But at this stage, I don't think that team is aiming higher. I think it's impossible. It's a hard one to say, isn't it? Because if the season started tomorrow, they're nowhere near good enough. But the season doesn't start tomorrow. The season starts a week Saturday or 2 weeks today.
But remember, if whatever player is coming in, they've only got 2 weeks to learn the philosophy, so it's almost like they're playing catch-up.
Well, they're going to be playing catch-up, and I think that's the reality of it. They're going to be playing catch-up for the first. I don't think we're going to see the best of Hull City until Sheffield United away on the 14th of September. And I'm right, basically, and I don't like saying this, but I'm right. I think they're going to have to write off the first month of the season because they're not going to be ready. They're nowhere near ready. We know Ajan himself said it to me in Turkey when we sat and interviewed him before the Fenerbahce game at Riva. He said August the 20th was the key date, and I wasn't sure why August the 20th. I wasn't sure if that was if he meant to say August the 30th, deadline day. And I've asked him since, why the 20th? What is so pivotal about the 20th? And he said to me, it's because he thinks that most Premier League teams are back from pre-season trips. They obviously get the season's about to start. They would have finalised their squads, and they will know by August the 20th
who's going,
who will be part of their squad going forward, and who will be available to either transfer or loan. Now. So what I think is also worth pointing out here at this juncture is if we think back 12 months, I haven't got the stats in front of me, but Liam Delap arrived early on in pre-season. Jason Lakilo arrived fairly.
Delap might have been the first,
Delap was the first signing because when we flew out to Turkey, he joined. I remember. I flew from Dublin, and he was already with that team. Lakina was quite early. Scott Twine, I think, was middle of August. Certainly.
Well, he got his debut at Blackburn.
Yeah, exactly. If you think of Philogene, Tyler Morton, deadline day signings. Ryan Alsop, last week of the window. I think that was the Wednesday of the final week, maybe. James Furlong was another deadline day arrival. So I think if you compare business now to business last year, we're probably about maybe similar.
But the difference is there's been a fire sale.
Well, I don't.
There has.
I don't.
mean, the volume of players that have gone out.
Yeah, I don't know if it's. I don't know.
19 players.
Yeah, but I was saying this to somebody, one of the guys from Newcastle earlier on. When you look at the players that have gone, there's a lot of players have gone, as you say, 19. I don't think any of them. If we stand here now, and anybody watching on Facebook, please chip in. I don't think any of them are unexpected. You look at obviously we knew there were 6 loan players. We knew 5 were going back. We knew Ryan Giles was coming in because they had an obligation to buy. That deal's been done. And by the way, Middlesbrough still want him, so I wouldn't write it off yet.
which would be a huge shame because you can see.
Yeah.
I think for the first time under Tim, we saw glimpses of real
Yeah.
quality from Ryan.
Going forward. So 5 loan players gone back. Giles gone back, came back in. So we knew that was going to happen. The likes of Cyrus Christie, Adama Traore, Greg Doherty, we all knew were going to go because they were out of contract. That was a given. Aaron Connolly was never going to get his deal extended. Billy Sharp was a short-term deal, gone. Right? We knew that there would be interest in Jaden Philogene and Jacob Greaves. We knew there was going to be strong interest, and that was almost. We knew that one of them would go. Both of them have gone. Ryan Allsop, I guess you would say that's the one. Not surprise, but given the owner's comments here,
Liam leaving,
Liam leaving, Ryan Allsop was always going to go. So I genuinely don't think you can look at that. You can look at the departures. Jason Akilo's gone this week. We knew that was going to happen. And let's be fair, with respect to Jason, if Hull City are wanting to compete at the top end of the league, Jason Akilo isn't going to be a part of that. He's not good enough.
Sadly not.
Lovely lad, by the way. But I genuinely stand here now, honestly, don't believe that there's any player that's left. I've gone, I didn't expect that.
But I suppose the difference in that is, yes, that we was expecting some of them to go, but it's left a big socking hole in depth. And
there's the key, Fletch, is the fact that you've lost 19 players or whatever it is, and you've only signed Giles and Drama, who actually I thought played. Cody Drama came off the bench,
game,
and he did really. I liked his intent. I liked the fact that his first instinct was to go forward rather than perhaps last season under the previous manager. It may have been take a touch, come inside and go back, a bit like Trippier for England when he's playing left side. By the by,
he didn't play today.
Yeah, he didn't. But it is the incomings, isn't it? You look at I genuinely don't believe anybody can argue the players gone were unexpected. It's just, as you say, it's left a huge gaping hole, and until that, they don't all need to be replaced, because what I don't want to see is them get into a situation where they sign a player like Ryan Longman, with respect, a player like Jason Akilo, Adokan Sinek and Adama Traore, players who are not good enough to be a team challenging for the playoffs. Then the manager works out by October they're not good enough, and they are casting the reserves, or they sent out on loan in January, and you're having to pay for players to be out on loan when you don't want them. Ryan Woods is another one. They had so many players in their squad that they just weren't good enough, and they don't need, and they're paying their salaries. So I know some fans want to see 15, 16 new signings. That isn't needed. That would be financial suicide, and it would give Walter a huge problem. They do need 7 or 8 more signings. They need to be strategic.
How would
good
you balance
players.
it? Would you balance it in a sense of, would you bring the loan players in the same way Liam Rossini did and put them in the first 11 to basically bolster the squad, or do you sign players to do that and then bring that depth in with young players from either the Bundesliga or the Premier League who, coming in, know what they're expecting, where they may get 20, 25 games, or they might get more than that, but appearances off the bench?
I think it needs to be. I think that, and we've said this on the podcast before. I think the reality of being a championship team like Hull City, where you haven't got the financial muscle that a parachute team have, a team from the Premier League that have got parachute payments have, you have to build your squad a bit from the academy, a bit of wheeling and dealing, and a bit of loan players. And the problem, and we've seen it in the past. We saw it when Forest went up and got promoted. Their team was largely loan players. We saw it with Middlesbrough. We were talking about that earlier on. Middlesbrough got to the playoffs, a side built largely on loan players, but when they all went back, they struggled. And the first half of last season, they found it really difficult.
And that's what it feels like to me at the moment when we was coming across. I said it generally has that feeling of Middlesbrough about it, but then again, they might be stronger this year. But the difference is, like Middlesbrough, they got in the playoffs, we finished in 7th place.
Yeah.
Patience is, you don't want a season where your expectation is, well, hang on, we've had this huge overhaul in the squad, and now we've got to build for another year after being so close last year.
Yeah. So on to targets, because I know that's what everybody wants to know. So Charlie Hughes, the Wigan centre half, I think that's a really good signing. I like the profile of player. They're realistically probably going to have to pay a bit more than what he's worth, but you are buying a young player with a lot of potential and a big sell on.
4.5 million, is it?
Roughly that. But when you look at decent League One defenders, centre halves that have gone from League One into the Championship and above, they generally cost about £4 million. So I think that would be par.
Could have Greavesy on our hands because Greavesy was so good.
Absolutely, yeah. He wasn't involved today, by the way. He wasn't involved today for Wigan against Blackburn. The suggestion is he's got a back problem. A little bit convenient given the fact that, you know, there's a move in the off into Hull City. So that's ongoing. Liam Miller is another player they're trying to sign.
Well, how did Tim answer it? How did Tim? So if I be you and you be Tim, so Liam Miller, Baz.
It's a good player.
What about McAteer?
It's a good player.
What about McConnell?
It's a good player.
Yeah. So just won't say anything.
It was a game of cat and mouse in the press room. We
would quite happily send him into bat as either number 1 or number 2.
He's like a Joe. Yeah, just like Joe Root, straight back. He was very straight. It was a bit of cat and mouse. We had a good joke about it. I put names to him. He batted it off. Once again, reiterating the fact that they need new signings, and we know that. He did say that he didn't expect anybody in before Fiorentina here on Tuesday night. Having previously said to me at Doncaster he was hopeful of new signings before today. That hasn't materialised, but he did say he was confident that they would get players in before Reading next Saturday, which of course is City's final outing of pre-season before the season starts the following week. So we'll have to wait and see. Look, Hughes is live. That's one that they really want. It'll be interesting at the time of recording this. I've not seen what Sean Maloney, the Wigan manager's had to say. I know there's a suggestion that he woke up with a stiff back this morning, so wasn't involved because of that. But it is highly convenient that he wasn't playing today. So expect progress on that one. Miller, the winger who was on loan at Preston last year, again is a player they're trying to sign. Casey McAteer from Leicester would be a very good signing.
That's Mike White, by the way, just saying bye to us.
He Mike's off, isn't he? With his,
he's got a boot full of pudding.
Yeah, we've had chocolate brownie in the press room after just now. So Mike's probably gone with his boot full of brownie. He loves his puddings, just Mike, bless him. Yeah, more so than usual. So they're the 3 live targets, but they just need they need them in. They're 3 good players, and they would enhance the squad markedly. I like Hughes. I think, as I said before, I like the profile of player that he is, and it gives me confidence knowing that they're going for that type of player, young, hungry, from a lower league that can make the step up. Yeah. And then can be sold. Could be sold for a profit further down the line. What you don't want to be seeing them doing, and that was my worry with Kiefer Moore. I thought Kiefer Moore on a short-term deal would have been a good signing.
Because he can get you there. Yeah. That's the difference.
Offering Kiefer Moore a 3-year contract when he's 32 in August is on Premier League money is a big risk, and I'm not sure that's you're paying you're front loading with Kiefer Moore, aren't you? You're paying an awful lot of money now to get him in for a season, hope he scores 15-20 goals to get you promoted. That hasn't happened. Sheffield United have stumped him and have jumped in and given him a 3-year deal. That's a 3-year deal for a player that's 32 in a couple of weeks that's a big financial gamble. I can see both sides.
Some strikers can go.
Depends
how they want to play him. He's not a player who's built for pace, is he?
No,
he's not someone who's going to try and break the getting behind off the shoulder.
And we know as well that Tim likes Ollie Watkins is a good example.
We're not signing him, by the way, sadly.
But he picked out Ollie Watkins when I was talking to him in Turkey. He likes obviously he loves Ollie Watkins. But that profile of striker, I thought was really interesting. So he likes his target man. We've talked before in the pod about Glatzel at Hamburg, how he was a big focal point. We know that he wanted Kiefer Moore to be that person. Oscar possibly, but the fact he likes somebody like Watkins that can play on the shoulder, can play in behind, and has got pace. So I think they will try and sign. You can't go into the season with Oscar and a Kiefer Moore type, because you become too predictable. You've got to have different, you've got to have different profiles of striker, haven't you? And I think somebody like in that Watkins mould, that's quick, that's pacey, plays off the shoulder, will give them a bit like what we thought we were getting with Noah Ohio, the ability to play off the striker and run in behind. Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see. So that's kind of where we're at, really. Luke, in terms of Tan, we'll have to, I guess, in terms of why Tan was in Frankfurt. I think Tan and both Tan and Ajun are on the PR front foot in terms of trying to get everybody to just not calm down, because that sounds condescending, but the message from both of them is that we are working hard, we are trying to bring players in, just be patient.
It could be interesting that's the next part of, because I raised it ages ago about how you have different transfer targets and everyone has different methods of getting players in, and it could well be that Tim's quite keen on maybe bringing in 2 or 3 loan players from the Bundesliga, but that is obviously the world of hypothesis. It might be why they're there, it might not be.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he doesn't. What he did say was he didn't want to sign anybody from Hamburg, so he wasn't planning on getting anybody from Hamburg. So that's one to watch. But this is a big week. Not wishing to put any undue pressure on them, but this is a huge week because they've got a game on Tuesday night here against Fiorentina.
Looking forward to that.
Yeah,
it's always nice playing like different teams.
Absolutely. And then you've got Reading on Saturday. The long trip to Reading. Thank you very much for that one. They need 1 or 2 in this week. I think they need it not just to lift confidence amongst the fan base, Fletch, but I think within the dressing room, Do
you think the dressing room's agitated?
Yes, I do. I think the dressing room has been ripped upside down. Obviously it was a very settled dressing room under Liam. Liam did a great job in terms of forging a real close-knit bond with the players. The players had their friendship groups. Naturally, when the players move on, that changes. But I think they felt unsettled, and I think also that a new manager coming in, different language, completely different philosophy of football. It takes time, and they've only been together for what are we on 27th of July? So they've been together for 27 days. That's not a long time, and it will take time, and it's going to take time for them to gel. And I think that's why it's so important they get 2 or 3 new faces in quickly, because new faces help lift the dressing room. It helps create a bubbly environment, and also players aren't stupid. They look around. Those players are looking around, thinking, well, last year we had Fabio Carvalho, we had not Billy Sharp, but in terms of experienced character, we had Scott Twine, we had Liam Delap, really bubbly character. This year we haven't got. Players aren't stupid. They look around, and the likes of Louis Coyle and Gilo, they'll be looking around that dressing room going, we just haven't got the quality. They won't be disparaging to their peers.
What do you think Seri's thinking? Because there's been some media talk about Seri, but I remember in October playing against Huddersfield, and they got beat when Andy Dawson was the caretaker, and Seri just walked off the pitch. And I don't think he's he's not daft, as you say, and other players might not be daft. They might just be, there might just be some shorter fuses where they might, they might want to think, do you know what? It's coming to August, things aren't happening. I want the best for my career.
Yeah, of course. If you're Alfie Jones, you're Alfie Jones playing alongside Jacob Greaves last year. You got to within, and that's of getting into the playoffs, and then you've got a chance of getting in the Premier League. Alfie Jones could be sitting in that dressing room looking around, thinking, "Hang on a minute, this is going one way. Unless quality starts arriving, we're going to have a season of struggle. I don't want that. Get me in." He could be onto his agent, and I'm not. Before anybody goes wild. That isn't. I'm not saying that's what's happened. Of course, I'm just.
No.
I'm just speculating. I'm being hypothetical.
Spitballing ideas.
Yeah. If I was a player, a player.
The other side of that is it could be all happy and joyful.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure it's happy and joyful. I think it's a place where people have concern, and I think that's a good thing. I think they want to be better. They finished 7th last year, so the natural improvement on finishing 7th is finishing 6th or 5th. At this stage, they're no chance. And those players won't be happy with that, because those players, Louis Coyle will not be happy with a team that goes from finishing 7th to battling relegation. Which, for me, I know we disagreed on this. For me, and I maintain this, that squad at the minute is going to face a fight to stay in the league. That squad at the minute is nowhere near good enough to challenge top 10 and above. Nowhere near. And the manager can be as good as he can, and he can do what he wants, and he can have them well drilled, well coached. But if you have not got the players, which he has not got the players at his disposal at the minute, they will struggle to stay in this division, because that team, they've just conceded 11 goals in 3 games. Yeah, okay, they're playing Newcastle, and Fenerbahce and Doncaster was
the
under 21s. But the point remains, the goalkeeper for me, and it's been raised on here, the goalkeeper is a concern. Pandor made a couple of good saves today, but I mean, I'm not convinced that he covered himself in glory with either of the goals, if I'm honest. But I need to see him again.
I don't know. I think the The first one, no, because I think it was down to the defence not tracking Isak.
Yeah, but he's come out, and is he not in the? He's come out. He's got. He's left his near post.
But somebody should be following up.
Yeah.
The second one is, it's. If you think about, if you get the chance to watch the highlights or watch the game today, and you saw Regan Slater have a shot at one end, and Nick Pope makes a great save,
he did, yeah,
brilliant reaction save, and then they go down the other end. Jacob Murphy plays literally a side foot pass into the from the corner of the area into the far corner, and who. Mistake me if I'm wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, was it Murphy or Isak or who's it? Someone was charging. Murphy took the crossing, somebody was running towards that front post.
Yeah.
Maybe he took the faintest of touches and may not touch the ball at all, but Panda didn't move. No. It was almost as if Panda was completely flat-footed. And when that ball went in, there was just a sort of like, not, you're not booing or anything like that, but you could just feel a sense of like, how's that gone in the back of the net?
Really poor goal.
But that's not just his fault, because people should track the runners, etc.
They need a goalkeeper. That much is obvious. So when I still think they need a goalkeeper. I touched on it in commentary that the left side worries me defensively. I think Giles is very, very good going forward, and I think
you commentating these days. Yeah. Where's this come from?
Yeah, didn't you know it's my side gig? I think Giles is very good going forward, and I said this for weeks that if he's here, which I'm still sceptical about long term, but if he's here. I think he can flourish going forward in that system under Tim Walter, but I don't think Jacobs.
I think he's the one
championship level.
I think he's the one that's shown the most promise.
Yeah,
so far in Tim Walter.
I think Jacob was hauled off at half time. He had a nightmare. He was all over the place that first half. I don't think Matty Jacob is yet is good enough for a championship left back. So I think that left side is a problem. If I'm a championship team facing City, I look at that left side and I think
attack it
every single time, because Louis Coyle is rock solid down the right hand side for the most part. So I think you would be attacking that left side time after time, and you'll get plenty of joy. So they obviously need a centre half. They need a goalkeeper, a centre half. They're trying to sign another midfielder. We know that they need two wingers and they need a striker. So
not a lot. Then,
well, but that's what I'm saying. They need they've got good players in certain areas, but have they got the quality and quantity in depth in the squad? No, they haven't, and that is over a 46-game championship season. If you have not got that quality and depth, you will get found out when you get injuries, when you get suspensions, when you get players that lose form or go away. Like we lost Seri for a period of time last season because of AFCON. You have not got AFCON this year, of course, but and for every departure now, you have to replace. So you've lost a Likilo, so you need to replace that number. If Seri was to go to Saudi, and that's not beyond the realms of possibility, you've then got to replace not only Seri, but his experience and his importance within the dressing room. So, we've got 2 weeks to go until the start of the season. They're not going to be ready, and we're not going to know what we're dealing with until August the 30th. Probably until the early hours of August the 31st, after the deadline. And then we know we can sit down and we go, well, that's the squad. That's the squad at least until January. By which point you've lost a month of the season, and who knows what that will mean. So, look, so much going on. They've just got to, they've got to work hard and they've got to get players in. So, look, that's all we've got time for here at the MKM Stadium. As always, get in touch. The 1904 Club on Twitter. We will be recording myself, Fletch, and Burnsy on Monday morning because Prutz, bless him, has gone to Portugal. So it will just be. Well, I can't really complain. It will just be the three of us, but get in touch, get us on Twitter at the 1904 Club, and we will see you on Monday. And if not Monday, we will see you here at the MKM Stadium for Fiorentina on Tuesday night. Thanks, Fletch.
Cheers, Baz. All the best.